At 61, Dr. Jordan Peterson stood on the world stage as a phenomenon, an intellectual warrior whose lectures filled arenas, whose debates went viral, and whose writings sold in the millions. To some, he was a prophet for the lost generation. To others, he was a dangerous skeptic dressed in the robes of a philosopher. But behind the applause, the controversies, and the millions who leaned on his words for clarity, a quiet storm brewed, a storm centered on one question that refused to leave him alone. Was Jordan Peterson, the man whose teachings inspired countless Christians, truly one of them himself? And if not, what was he hiding from the public, and why was he so afraid to give the one answer everyone was waiting to hear? The contradiction was striking. On one hand, Peterson quoted scripture with fluency, dissecting biblical passages with a precision that impressed even seminary professors. He praised Jesus Christ as the ultimate archetype of sacrifice, and his lectures often moved listeners to tears when he spoke of the cross. Yet when pressed with the simplest question, "Are you a Christian?" he would hesitate, stumble, and ultimately refuse to give a straight answer. For many, this hesitation felt like betrayal. For others, it was a tantalizing mystery. What was really going on behind the professor's carefully measured words, and what truths did he refuse to let slip? The incident that reignited this debate began during a high-profile interview. The question came bluntly, from a host who claimed to speak for millions of Christian fans. Why is it that when people ask you if you're a Christian, you don't just say it directly? The audience leaned forward, waiting. Peterson's response was equal parts brilliance and evasion. Because the question is almost always manipulative, he said. It's not really a question, it's a veiled demand. His words rippled across social media like wildfire. Clips circulated with captions like "Peterson dodges again," and "The man who inspires Christians refuses to be one." It was the sound of a man cornered, yet refusing to give ground. Behind the polished stage lights, insiders whispered about what Peterson really believed. A close colleague allegedly confided after the interview, "He doesn't want to be trapped in their definitions. He's terrified of being boxed in by dogma." Others weren't so charitable. A pastor who once shared the stage with him told associates, "If you deny Christ publicly, Scripture says he'll deny you before the Father. That should terrify him." These whispered judgments circulated quickly, spreading through church networks and online forums. For every fan defending Peterson's nuance, another was accusing him of cowardice. Privately, tensions brewed between Peterson and those closest to him. In one late-night exchange recalled by a member of his team, a confidant reportedly pressed him, "Why not just say you are? It would make everything easier." Peterson, exhausted, allegedly whispered back, "Because I don't even know what they mean when they say Christian. Do they mean church attendance? Blind allegiance? Or carrying the cross willingly? If that's the standard, who among us can truly claim it?" These words, though never recorded, became the stuff of gossip legend, a man admitting to inner torment while the world demanded clarity. The rumors didn't stop there. In closed church circles, debates raged over whether Peterson was secretly battling with faith, or deliberately using Christianity as a tool without submitting to it. Some suggested he feared losing credibility among secular intellectuals if he openly declared his faith. Others believed his hesitation came from pride, the unwillingness to be accountable to a tradition that would judge his every word. Social media platforms lit up with hashtags like "Is she Christian?" and "Peterson's faith," with fans and critics trading blows. The spectacle was no longer about theology. It was about image, loyalty, and the whispers of hidden motives. The backlash escalated quickly. Christian leaders took to pulpits and podcasts, some defending Peterson's journey, others condemning his evasions. A viral sermon clip featured a preacher warning, "The internet doesn't care about your journey, Dr. Peterson. It only sees your allegiance. And right now, you look like a man ashamed of the gospel." Within hours, the clip was spliced with Peterson's interviews, set to dramatic music, and shared across YouTube channels hungry for controversy. The pressure mounted. Fans who once cheered him now questioned whether they had been misled. Was the man who gave them courage to believe in meaning unwilling to declare belief in God himself? Whispers of lawsuits and old controversies added more fuel to the fire. Reports resurfaced of university colleagues who accused him of being manipulative, of building a cult-like following without accountability. Former students whispered that he used biblical language more as literature than as confession. "He teaches it like Shakespeare," one said bitterly, "but he doesn't live it." These accusations, whether true or not, struck at the heart of his carefully built image, a man seen as both academic giant and reluctant preacher. The toll on his reputation was undeniable. Evangelical churches that once invited him to speak began hesitating. Conferences debated whether his presence would cause division. His inbox, according to insiders, filled with both desperate pleas from fans, "Please tell us you are one of us," and harsh condemnations from critics who called him a fraud. At home, tensions reportedly spilled into conversations with family. In one supposed exchange, a loved one pressed him, "If Jesus came back today, would he call you his?" Peterson, weary, allegedly replied, "That's not your question to ask, and it's not mine to answer." Yet in the midst of backlash, something remarkable happened. Instead of collapsing under the weight of criticism, Peterson leaned into the storm. In a later lecture, he told the crowd, "People want a casual conclusion, but I'm not interested in giving that. If believing means to carry the cross willingly, then it's the most difficult question of all. And I won't reduce it to a slogan." The words stunned many. Some heard arrogance. Others heard a man grappling with the deepest question of all, refusing to offer cheap answers. The ambiguity that angered critics also drew admirers closer. But what did this mean for his legacy? Was Jordan Peterson the intellectual prophet of a generation, courageously wrestling with God in the open? Or was he a clever manipulator, exploiting Christian language without owning its costs? The gossip refuses to settle, because Peterson himself refuses to settle. Each public appearance, each interview, reignites the fire. His refusal to answer plainly has become the very thing that defines him, turning a simple yes or no question into a global controversy. In the end, Peterson's story may not be about clarity at all. It may be about the spectacle of watching a man wrestle publicly with questions most are too afraid to whisper. He has become, intentionally or not, a mirror reflecting the doubts, fears, and contradictions of millions who wonder if they truly believe what they claim. And that may be the real scandal. Not that he refuses to call himself a Christian, but that he exposes how fragile our definitions really are. For now, the world waits. Fans listen for a confession that may never come. Critics sharpen their knives for the next interview. And in the middle stands Peterson, enigmatic, defiant, and unwilling to give the world the one word it demands most. Will he ever say it? Or will history remember him as the man who flirted with faith but never claimed it? The whispers continue, and the answer remains locked behind his guarded lips.